I just had a huge breakthrough with my GF after a golf-related fight revealed decades-old family drama and misunderstandings, how a childhood shouting match between my grandpa and her brother turned into years of tension. I, 31 male, have been dating this amazing woman, 26 female, for about 4 months now. We clicked pretty quickly. She's kind, confident, and has that infectious laugh that makes everyone in the room feel lighter. We both come from similar suburban Midwestern backgrounds, and we're both really close with our families. So, unlike many relationships where you wait months to meet the parents, ours just sort of blended early on. It wasn't forced. It was just natural. For example, I help take care of my niece a couple days a week. My mom handles the other days. So my girlfriend has met my mom, my sister, my niece, everyone because she's simply around. Similarly, she spends a lot of time with her dad, and they're really close. The kind of father-daughter relationship that's full of teasing and old inside jokes. So it wasn't long before our families were bumping into each other at dinners, family gatherings, errands. There was no pressure. It just happened. Now, a little background on me. I don't exactly look like the stereotypical suburban guy. I've got tattoos from shoulder to wrist, long wavy hair I usually keep tied back, and a style that's more punk bar on a Thursday night than country club brunch. Leather jackets, vintage tees, and beat-up Converse. My girlfriend's dad gave me a few curious looks the first time we met, but he's polite, old-school Midwestern. You know the type. Quiet judgment wrapped in a smile. One day, her dad invited me and my dad to join them for a round of golf. It had been unseasonably warm, like freakishly nice for this time of year, and the courses opened up early. Her dad and she were eager to take advantage of it. Apparently, golfing is their thing. Her childhood bedroom still has plaques, ribbons, and trophies from high school and college golf tournaments. She even keeps her old driver mounted on the wall, signed by a local pro she admired. What she didn't know is, I can golf too. In fact, I can golf very well. The thing is, you wouldn't guess it from looking at me. And honestly, that's kind of the way I like it. Here's the deal. My dad is a top 50 senior golfer in the world. My mom's dad was a respected golf coach. My paternal grandfather literally founded a private golf club in the 50s that's still thriving today. Golf isn't just in my blood, it was my entire childhood. My summer daycare growing up, being dropped off at the club from morning until my dad finished work. I'd play 36 holes a day, 7 days a week. That was my routine from ages 8 to 17. By the time I hit high school, I was sick of it. Not because I wasn't good, I was damn good, but because it stopped being fun. It felt like an obligation. A grind. So I quit. Cold turkey. But muscle memory is a funny thing. You don't forget something that defined your formative years. I've probably hit more balls in my life than I've had hot meals. So yeah, I can play. But I don't do it to win trophies anymore. These days, it's more about walking the course, cracking a few beers, and laughing with friends than chasing birdies. I haven't practiced in years because I did enough of that for 10 lifetimes. So, back to the golf day. I could tell my girlfriend was excited. She was a little competitive, clearly hoping to impress me with her swing. Her dad had that gentle, let me show you how it's done vibe with mine. They teed up the first hole and took their shots. Decent, steady swings. My dad and I watched quietly. Then my dad went. Smooth, relaxed, classic. No surprise there. He's been playing longer than any of us have been alive. Then I stepped up. I could feel her dad watching me like a hawk, probably expecting me to slice it into the woods or chunk the turf. Instead, I launched a clean, arcing shot right down the center. Perfect loft, perfect backspin, a little baby draw. It landed about 280 yards out and rolled gently to a stop. Silence. Then her dad turned to me and said, "Huh, you've played before?" I just smiled. A little. What followed was 4 hours of polite surprise turning into real respect. We joked, drank, played, and slowly, the dynamic shifted. Her dad started asking me more personal questions about work, family, goals. My girlfriend kept looking over with that mixture of pride and confusion, like she'd just discovered this whole hidden part of me. It was one of the best days I've had in a long time. That was about 2 weeks ago. Since then, things have felt different. In a good way. Her family seems warmer toward me now. Her mom invited me to a Sunday brunch next week. Her younger brother texted me about a local record shop we talked about. And my girlfriend? She keeps teasing me for being a secret golf prodigy. But here's the thing, I still haven't told her just how deep it goes. She has no idea about the full family legacy. The club. The summers. The tournaments I won as a kid. That's all still just under the surface. Part of me wonders if I should. Not because I'm ashamed, far from it, but because I don't want it to become a thing. Right now, our relationship is honest and fun and full of mutual discovery. I don't want to overwhelm her with the past when we're just getting to know each other in the present. I've always been upfront with my girlfriend about how I feel about golf, or at least I thought I had been. Early in our relationship, maybe during our second or third date, we were talking about hobbies, and I remember telling her how I appreciate golf more for what surrounds it than for the game itself. I like the fresh air, I like walking the course, I like cracking open a cold beer with friends. It's not that I hate the game. I just don't take it seriously anymore. I used to. Oh, I used to. But that was a long time ago, and it's not where my passion lies anymore. Still, I told her I'd be happy to play with her anytime, because I knew it mattered to her. She and her dad are practically golf fanatics, and I honestly thought, great, here's a chance to bond with the family. What I think happened in retrospect is that she misunderstood my casual attitude toward golf as me being bad at it. And, to be fair, that would have been a logical assumption for anyone. I don't dress like a golfer. I'm covered in tattoos, have long hair, and my general vibe is way more punk bar than country club. So maybe she just thought I dabbled or played for fun, but wasn't any good. Maybe that was her default assumption. But I never explicitly said I was bad. I just never brought up my history with the sport because, well, frankly, it's complicated. Golf has been a big part of my life for as long as I can remember, but not always in a good way. My grandfather on my dad's side actually founded a private golf club back in the 50s. My other grandfather was a golf coach. My dad played at a top-tier university and is now one of the top 50 senior golfers in the world. Golf runs in the bloodline. I spent most of my summers growing up on a golf course, not necessarily because I wanted to, but because that's where I was dropped off every morning while my dad worked. 9 hours a day, 7 days a week, for months on end. By the time I was a teenager, I was burnt out. The magic had worn off. I was good, really good, but it felt more like a second job than a pastime. So when high school rolled around, I walked away from competitive play and never looked back. I didn't stop playing entirely, but it stopped being something I chased. It became something I just tolerated. So when my girlfriend and her dad invited me and my dad to go golfing one weekend, I was genuinely excited. I saw it as a cool opportunity to bond with her family and have a good time. I wasn't planning to show off or anything. I figured we'd play a casual round, enjoy the weather, laugh a little, maybe have a few beers. That's how I like golf these days. Low stakes, lighthearted, fun. But even before we finished the first hole, I could tell something was off. She wasn't outright cold, but there was a distance. At first, I chalked it up to her being in her zone, or maybe taking the game more seriously than I do. Some people are like that with sports. I just gave her space and focused on bonding with her dad. Honestly, I thought he and I hit it off. We chatted about work, family, shared some laughs, even ribbed each other a little like old buddies. It was a good day, or so I thought. When we got back to my place later, everything changed. She just exploded. It completely blindsided me. She accused me of hiding my skills on purpose to make her look bad, of trying to one-up her in front of her dad, of humiliating her. She said I'd made her family look bad, like they'd underestimated me or been foolish for thinking they could beat me. She kept asking, why would you lie about something so dumb? And I just stood there like an idiot, trying to figure out how we'd gone from pleasant golf outing to DEFCON 1. We've never had a real fight before, not even a disagreement worth remembering. She's always been level-headed, patient, genuinely one of the kindest people I've met. But this was uncharted territory. I didn't even know how to respond. I was so thrown off that I barely said anything. I think I just stood there muttering things like, I didn't mean to and I didn't think it mattered, which probably only made her angrier. Eventually, she said she needed space and left. That was Sunday. Since then, things have been tense. She's been polite but distant, responding to texts but not initiating, giving short answers, avoiding anything meaningful. We haven't addressed the fight directly, and that silence is just making it worse. Every day that goes by without resolution adds more pressure. I can't stop thinking about it. And here's the thing, this is so dumb. It's golf. It's not like I lied about having a kid or being in debt or having a criminal record. I didn't even lie at all. I just didn't bring up my junior golf career because it's not who I am anymore. I never imagined it would blow up into this. I've been racking my brain trying to figure out what to say to her. I know I need to talk to her soon, and I know that silence isn't helping either of us. But I also don't want to sound dismissive. Clearly this hit a nerve for her, and I don't want to invalidate how she feels. Maybe she grew up with a different idea of what golf means. Maybe it's deeply tied to her relationship with her dad, and me unexpectedly outperforming them felt like a betrayal. I don't know. I can guess, but I want to hear it from her. What I do know is that I really like her. I care about her deeply. And I don't want this to be the thing that derails us. This fight doesn't feel like us, if that makes sense. It feels like a fluke, a weird, emotionally charged misunderstanding that spiraled too fast. I want to explain where I'm coming from. I want to tell her that I wasn't trying to prove anything, that I wasn't trying to win anything. I just wanted to be part of her world. And if that means talking about my childhood on golf courses and why I don't brag about it, then so be it. She deserves that honesty. She deserves better than my stunned silence. I just hope she's willing to listen when I finally get the words out. The next day, I woke up with that tight, anxious feeling in my chest, the kind you get when you know something unresolved is hanging over your head. The kind that sits in your stomach and makes everything else in the day feel a little heavier. The fight from Sunday had been looping in my brain nonstop. I couldn't shake it, couldn't figure out exactly where things had turned so sharply, and the silence since then had only made things worse. I kept replaying her words. Why would you lie to me about something so dumb? And my lack of any real response. I knew we had to talk. I just didn't know how it was going to go. So last night, I finally sat down with her. We talked. Not in that tense, clipped way you do when you're still mad and defensive, but really talked. It took a while to get there. At first, I was bracing myself for more frustration, more confusion, maybe even some anger. But the second I brought up what had happened, like truly brought it up and said, "Hey, we need to talk about golf and about Sunday," her entire face changed. And then she started crying. I mean, full-on crying. I was shocked. I'd never seen her cry before. It totally disarmed me. Here I was, ready to defend myself, to try and explain my weird relationship with golf, and she just melted. She said she was so sorry, like over and over. And then she started explaining everything from her side. Apparently, on the way to the course, she and her dad were riding together, and they made a little bet. Nothing serious, just something they've always done. Dad-daughter kind of stuff. She told me the bet was about me, specifically what she thought I'd shoot on the course that day. She got to set the number, and her dad had to take the over or the under. And the stakes? Cleaning up all the winter dog poop from their backyard once the snow thawed. Pretty high stakes if you ask me, especially since, as she told me with a smile through her tears, they don't actually own a poop scoop. So she guessed I'd shoot around an 85. Not a bad score by normal standards, right? Definitely respectable for a casual player. Her dad immediately laughed and took the under. Said something like, "Easiest under of my life. Get your poop scoop ready." Again, just classic parent humor, but it stuck with her. It stuck all day. She said she didn't think much of it at first, but once she saw how well I was playing, how smoothly I moved through the course, how casually I hit shots that she knew weren't beginner's luck, her brain started spiraling. She started wondering how her dad knew I was good. Because she didn't. We've been dating for months, and she felt like this was something she should have known. She said it started feeling like everyone else was in on a joke that she hadn't been let in on. Like we were all keeping her in the dark and letting her walk around clueless while we shared this silent understanding. And that's when the self-doubt started creeping in. She told me that for a while during the round, she was mostly just embarrassed. But not in the cute, haha, I was wrong kind of way, more like a vulnerable, gut punch kind of embarrassment. She didn't know if I'd told her dad about my golf background behind her back, or if there was something obvious about me she'd just missed. She started second-guessing herself. "How could I have not known this about someone I care so much about?" she said to me. "Why did he know and not me?" And once that insecurity took root, it just grew into something bigger. She said it wasn't just the bet or the game, it was the feeling of being the last to know. The feeling of being left out of the loop in her own relationship. And when we got back to my place, all of that pent-up confusion and emotion came out as anger. Her words. Her own admission. She said she wasn't thinking clearly, that she let her emotions run wild, that her imagination had filled in gaps that didn't exist. "I wasn't even being rational," she said, wiping her eyes. "And I know that. I felt stupid, and small, and left out. And instead of asking you, I attacked you." And just like that, the weight in my chest started to lift. Not because everything was suddenly okay, but because we were finally sitting in the truth together. We were being honest. I told her my side, too, that I didn't mean to hide anything, I just genuinely didn't think my past with golf mattered. That for me, the game feels like a different life, something I was born into, not something I chose. I told her how summers growing up were all about golf, how it felt like work instead of fun, how it was this massive presence in my childhood that I eventually stepped away from because I wanted to live my life. Not my grandfather's. Not my dad's. I told her I didn't want to lead with that story because I didn't want to be that story. That it's not who I am anymore. I like golf for the sunshine and the company and the beer, not because I want to win anything. And if I'm still good at it, well, that's just muscle memory from a childhood I didn't get to write. She listened. And she really heard me. After everything we talked about, she ended up calling her dad later that day. From what she told me, he kind of realized that he'd messed up, like he hadn't meant to cause any awkwardness or tension, but somehow things had spiraled. He explained to her how he actually knew about my golf background, but the story behind it was way more interesting than she'd expected. Turns out her older brother, who's about 4 years older than me, also played golf when he was younger. The reason her dad remembered me, even though it had been nearly 20 years, wasn't just because I was a good player or from a golf family. No, it was because her brother and my grandpa got into this huge fight at a junior PGA tournament years ago. Not a fist fight or anything physical, but a pretty intense shouting match, the kind that sticks with people. And honestly, that made a lot of sense to me because those kinds of heated arguments happened surprisingly often back then. Like, seriously, at least 1 out of every 4 tournaments I played in involved my grandpa yelling at me or someone else. I was about 13 at the time, still playing competitive golf, and her brother was 17, and really good too. I'd play in the 14 to 17 age division because the younger 10 to 13 division had different rules that weren't golf according to the purists, things like circle 10s if your score got too high, or other small tweaks meant to keep the pace of play moving for less experienced players. Anyway, her brother was in the same group as me during this particular tournament, and I wasn't playing my best. My grandpa was riding me hard the entire time, publicly, in front of everyone. My older brother was away at college and was already playing in the biggest amateur events in the country, which took a huge time commitment, so my parents would go watch him. That left me staying with my grandparents, which meant my grandpa was the one driving me around and coaching, or sometimes just yelling at me. This tournament was one of those moments where grandpa was laying into me hard, and her dad just lost it. He couldn't handle how he was treating me, so he stepped in, and the two of them got into a massive shouting match right there on the course. Her dad wasn't 100% sure at the time that I was the kid involved in that argument, but once we connected on Facebook years later, he did some detective work. He found a picture of my family, saw my grandpa in the background, and everything clicked. That's how he remembered me all these years later. When she told me all this, I could tell she was really shaken by it. She looked kind of devastated, embarrassed for me, sad, and just generally distraught about everything. It was like she was holding this heavy weight of guilt and confusion, and she wasn't sure how to deal with it. What made it harder was that it was clear I didn't want to dive back into that part of my life just yet. I hadn't fully processed or talked about that rough period, so she felt like apologizing wasn't enough or maybe not even the right thing to do. So instead, she tried to ignore the whole topic, probably because she was scared of saying the wrong thing or pushing me away. But the problem was, her silence made her come across as distant, like she was putting up a wall between us. It created this weird space where I could tell she was hurting but didn't know how to reach out. I wanted to be there for her, to explain that I wasn't mad or upset about her reaction or her distance. I just wasn't ready to open up about that chapter of my life yet. But communication felt tricky, like we were both stepping on eggshells around something that was still raw. So yeah, after all the confusion and the fight and the revelation about the golf history, we were left with this complicated mix of emotions. I wanted to move past it and rebuild the closeness we'd had, but I also understood why she felt hesitant and distant. And honestly, I wasn't sure how long it would take for either of us to really heal and get back to the easy, loving space we had before all of this. So, we finally had a long talk about everything, about my complicated history with golf, how I really grew to hate it back then, and how she always talked about the good times she had growing up playing golf with her family. I never wanted to taint those memories for her with my own, much darker experiences. It was one of those conversations that felt like peeling back layers, painful but necessary. We ended up hugging, crying, and even laughing through it all. It was so intense that we both decided to call in sick today because the conversation had taken up most of the night, emotionally draining but also healing. Despite everything, I feel like we're in a really good place now, stronger for having talked openly about the stuff that had been hanging between us. Her dad was pretty apologetic too. He hadn't realized just how much the whole thing bothered her, especially originally, and it hit him later on that while for him it was just this stupid, embarrassing but funny memory, like, who gets into a fight at a kid's golf tournament with an 80-something-year-old man? For me, it was more than just a funny story. That fight was kind of a microcosm of what my life was like at that time. The verbal abuse, the constant pressure, the feeling of being publicly humiliated, but then also having someone unexpectedly stand up for me. It was like a weird, tangled reminder of everything I was going through. I don't think it's a conversation he ever wanted to really dive into, so he just kept it to himself for years. And honestly, he never expected his daughter to connect the dots with a golf bet he made with her. He just thought he was setting up a funny little wager, so he could get out of cleaning up the winter poop from their dogs. He was aiming for some free yard work and to get off scot-free. Now, all three of us are planning to do the dreaded chore together this weekend, cleaning up dog poop once the snow melts, and honestly, it feels kind of symbolic. Like we're closing this weird chapter with something practical and low-key. I also made sure to thank him for standing up for me back then. It actually meant a lot to me at the time, more than I had ever really admitted. Having someone back me up when I was a kid getting yelled at in front of everyone made a huge difference, even if it caused a big fuss. He just laughed and joked that if we ever have kids one day, maybe we should keep Grandpa far away from their sporting events. Sounds like solid advice to me. All in all, it's been a wild ride from misunderstanding and distance to this place where we can laugh and connect over something that once felt so heavy. I think this experience has actually brought us closer in a way that I didn't expect. And honestly, I'm looking forward to seeing how things go from here. There's still a lot ahead of us, but at least now it feels like we're on the same team. Since that conversation, things between us have really shifted in the best way. There's a new level of understanding and openness that wasn't there before. My girlfriend has been so much more affectionate and patient, and I've been trying harder to share more of myself without holding back. It's like a weight lifted off both our shoulders. We've even started joking about the poop cleaning punishment her dad lost in the bet. Turns out, it's become this funny little ritual we all look forward to, a strange but meaningful way for our families to bond. The awkwardness from before has melted into laughter and shared stories, and it's honestly brought us closer than I expected. Most importantly, I feel like we're building a stronger foundation. We're learning how to navigate misunderstandings without letting them fester. The past no longer feels like a barrier, but something that shaped us and brought us here. We both want to make this work, and that means being honest, even about uncomfortable stuff. There's still plenty ahead for us. More talks, more growing, and definitely more golf, even if I'm still not the biggest fan. But right now, I'm grateful. Grateful for the tough conversations, the patience, and the willingness to listen and forgive. It feels like we're finally on the same team, ready to face whatever comes next together.